morning, Park family. I recently had the opportunity to sit down with one of our life group leaders. Her story is a great story, but more importantly, it tells of how not only her life group impacted her, but how she impacted them, and then how they impacted the neighborhood and then really women across this country. So why don't you come on and listen in on this conversation that I had with her? Why don't you tell me a little bit about your life group?
Well, Reverend Taz, my life group is called Just Us, and it stands for Jesus Using Sisters to Unite Souls. And we've been together for over 4 years. We actually started when we did the 40 Days of Love, and we kept going. Our life group is a women's only group. We come from all walks of life. We have people who are members of the church and non-members of the church, people who are just from our neighborhoods. Your next door neighbor happens to be one of our life group members. And we come together on a regular basis just to love on each other, to support each other, to study the books that the church has sanctioned. And we just have a wonderful, wonderful time.
What are some of the things that you all do to reach the community in your life groups?
Well, we've been very involved in the community. We actively participate in the Day of Community. And what we try to do is to do that as a group. In fact, one of our members, we met her at the Day of Community and invited her to church the next day. She came to church. She's now been a faithful member of our life group and of the church. So we've gone out to the missions. We've done battered women's shelter. We've worked at a school, Hawthorne School. We volunteered as a group and painted the walls and upholstered furniture. We do a lot relative to children because our heart is really with children and with women. So we've gone to Dress for Success and volunteered there as well.
You know, one of the functions of a life group is to come beside one another in times of crisis, in times of need, in times of comfort. Could you share with us how your life group has helped you in that regard?
Well, in 2012, I had a very difficult year. That was a year that I had surgery. My husband had surgery. My mom moved in with us and was sick and ended up passing away. And our life group was there every step of the way. When I had surgery, they made meals for us for 2 weeks. And not just for me, they do that for everybody if you're ill. They also came when my mom was sick to sit with my mom while she was in hospice. They would help in terms of babysitting my mom. We call it mom sitting, when I would have to go to doctor appointments for myself. Anything that I could have needed, prayer for me, my family, my mom, they were just always there. They became the lifeblood for me. I don't know how I would have made it without Just Us and God.
You know, when you come to the Park Church, a new person walking in the door may say, this church is so big, and it may feel like, nobody's ever going to know me. I can kind of get swallowed up and lost into this. How do you think life groups could impact in that way?
Well, I can share one testimony from one of our life group members. She had joined the church 5 years ago at Beatties Ford Road, became a member here in the South Charlotte location, and she really would go to church and leave. And then when she joined our life group, she now on Sundays can, somebody walks up to her and her husband, her son, and hug them and they kiss them. So the life group has made the church seem much smaller. When we come to church, there are at least 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, 10 people who are willing to hug us or hug our children or hug our husbands. So it has really made this church our family, but much smaller.
Come on, Park Church, let's give God a great hand clap of praise for the great things that he's done in the life of Gail Jarrett as her life group came around to support her. Look, if you're interested in getting in a life group, why don't you join us on Saturday, April the 13th at 9:30 a.m. at the Park Church on Independence. Or you can click on the serve button where you can extend yourself beyond yourself as we go to make an impact for Christ throughout this world. Join us. Get in a life group today. As we grow larger, we must intentionally grow smaller. God bless you.
My name is Ed Dolby, and I am the retired president of the Carolinas for Bank of America. I first met Bishop Alexander in 2001. I said to him, I want to come visit your church one day. And he said to me, you do that. And I thought about that, and I said, okay, I will. 4 years later, I was driving past South Mecklenburg High School, and I heard on the radio that this same, he was in the bishop then, young preacher as I called him, was going to be at South Meck preaching. And I thought, you know, I had a conversation with this man 4 years ago. I want to go visit, and I did. And it was one of the most riveting experiences I've ever had in a service. And I sat in that auditorium for several months and listened to his sermons and listened to his vision about growing out of the church and growing into a location in South Charlotte, because he was told to grow a ministry, and the time for that ministry had come. And I got a call one day to come to this particular location and to take a look at it. And my only assignment was help us determine what we should pay for this property. We got together and we worked out what we thought a good offering price was. And so we got it for the price that we offered the seller. Now, 4 years ago, he called and said, we want you to come take a look at the Independence merchandise market, I think we called it. And so I walked in and looked at this behemoth of a place, 535,000 square feet, give or take. And I thought, this is interesting, what's going on now? And we have an opportunity to buy this. As I drove home, thinking through all that we had discussed during the day, my spirit asked me, don't you think that you need to reflect on what has happened at the Park South Church and understand what will eventually happen at Independence, and don't worry about the time frame, simply because none of us drive time frames. None of us drive momentum. That's what God does. And so why don't you just be the best member and the best steward that you can be, and to use your resources that God has given you to give back to God, to help others. And that's why I pause to thank everybody at Keller Avenue. I mean, all the folk who were members of Keller Avenue, we thank you for what you've done, particularly when we take a look here at this church. And I also want to thank the members of the Vegas Ford Road Church, because they too have played a very significant role in getting us to where we are today. Now, the real challenge now is our will versus God's will. And He has so blessed us that we are capable of taking that Independence property and doing with it what His vision, completing His vision that He's given to Bishop Alexander. And that's why today I am just extremely excited by the fact that we are ready to put that first chapel in that church where we can worship. I think in the final analysis that we're going to get done what we need to get done here. Now, it's going to take everybody. There's no gift too big, and there's no gift too small. We should be willing to make a contribution here for others who come behind us and for others who live with us, so that, again, we can fulfill the request of Jesus, and that is to go in all the communities and to go into all the nations and to preach the Word of God.